Hi, I'm Narelle Todd from Get My Book Out There.
Hi, I'm Essie Smith. I'm a New York Times USA Today bestselling author. And what are we doing today, Norel?
I'm intrigued of this one. So, what are the 3 to 5 things you wish you knew before you became an author? Because I
Let's
think
see,
that
gray hair.
applies to most people. Yeah. When they start any kind of business,
Yeah,
I think for many people, if they knew what was actually involved, they may not actually get started because you don't know what you don't know.
I
But let's
actually love a
see.
saying that my husband used to tell me. He would say, there's some days you wouldn't give your business away for $1 million, and other days you'd sell it for a nickel. And if you're an author, it's the same thing.
I think for most business owners, there's those times where you just go, what the fruit am I doing? I remember back in the day, this is many moons ago, 2004, I worked a salary job and I used to think that was stressful. It was some good hours and I had a good budget I had to control and all those sorts of things and a bit of pressure. And there's some days where I go, that was so easy compared to what I'm doing now. Maybe I should just go back to that and just rock up. And then it's no, I don't think I'd be able to anymore.
We were watching The Big Bang Theory last night, and the guys go into this comic book store, which is frequently there. And one of the guys says, "Oh, this is so cool that you own a comic book store." And the guy that owns it is, "Yeah, I work 70 hours a week and make $1.65 an hour." And when you probably put in the number of hours that I work, you feel like you'd be lucky to make $1.65 an hour.
Yeah.
But to me, it's so rewarding an experience 99% of the time. There's always that little bit that I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. But I'd have to say the majority of the time, it's one of those that I'm glad that I did it. I can honestly say I'm never going to be upset that I tried this or that I did
Hmm.
this. All right, so let's bring it around and focus on the first thing we're going to talk about.
What do you think is the thing you wish somebody had told you? Is there one thing you wish someone had told you?
If they had a crystal ball, if they would have warned me about what the big businesses like Amazon and Kobo and many of the others were going to do to impact authors, I wish I would have had that knowledge because I could have made different plans. For example, if I would have known that Kindle Unlimited was going to come out, I could have made plans before to make, I think, that transition a little bit better. And I don't think it would have impacted my business quite as dramatically. I think that's a good way to politically correctly put it
Yes.
without pulling on my grandmother's wartime language.
I would think very similar to that is it's almost like the consistency of change in the
Mhm.
bookstores, particularly Amazon, who seems to make changes, not necessarily transparent ones either. And it's not until, say, you're in an author group and someone's talking about it and you're going, oh, is that what went on there? To me,
Mhm.
I think I guess it doesn't surprise me, but in some ways it does that there's not more transparency about changes and what goes on. And it would appear that books built Amazon,
Yes,
but it seems like it's the one place they go to really sink the boot in and just make decisions that literally leave the author with no money at the end of
exactly.
yeah, something. So I guess there's that sense of loyalty that I thought, oh, if something helped build your business, there would be something there that you would hold it in esteem, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
I think they just see books and authors as cash cows, and all the cash is going to them. And I remember there was supposedly someone high up, I don't want to say any names,
Yeah.
that commented that one day authors are going to be paying Amazon to publish their books instead of Amazon paying authors. And I think that in some cases it's reached that point. And I think it's sad because it was a very good thing. And I think many of their business choices has not helped society. It's only helped the one medium, them.
Yeah.
It's basically lined their pocket. And like you said, there's not that loyalty in return, but it's business.
Yeah.
And that's part of living in a capitalist society. That's one reason why you do have to have some regulations, because if you don't, then it becomes an oligarch. We can't, we're the little guys. So we have to understand the rules, even if they're not playing with them. We have to understand those rules, and we have to learn how to navigate through that minefield if we want to continue doing what we love to do. And that means evolving. That means changing with the times.
And
And
I think in the last year or so, that change or the need to adapt to change at the places where we sell our books has increased exponentially. And it's almost there's a new change coming every, say, month or so. And you've just tidied up your website and all your books and all the rest of it. And then it's, oh, here's this other thing that's come over, and you just, okay, we'll have to go and do that. And I swear it's almost like you spend so much time fixing up the admin back end side of things that it just
mhm,
takes you away from writing because you're trying to comply with these decisions that often you have no idea or no forewarning that it's coming. And of course, if a big change happens and you're in the middle of a new release, yeah, too bad.
it's that big pile of dinosaur poop.
Yeah.
And you're trying to find the satellite phone inside of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Only thing is that as it's ringing, it's also moving around.
Yeah.
So you're constantly having to move, trying to locate it through all of that dino poop. And it's not that this change is any different than changes before. You had authors hundreds of years ago that had to write everything out if they knew how to write. And then the invention of the printing press. And then from there, each one. And then those that you had the gatekeepers for the traditional publishing houses, which generally
Hmm.
I think there was like five publishing houses that controlled all the books and media that came out, unless you were willing to spend the big bucks and go to a vanity press. So, all of these changes, I'm sure that the traditional publishers and traditional authors were all griping when the indie authors came out. And now the indie authors are definitely exponentially increasing. The big guys, the gatekeepers, what few before, to get this clarified, when we first started, the indie outriders, while we did not have the gatekeepers, our gatekeepers were the readers. So if you wrote a book and it was really good, the readers would purchase a book, the author could write another book and make a living at it. But what happened is with programs like KU, they gave this mindset that you can read all you want for free. You don't get anything for free. It's that mindset. But what happened is they took away that gatekeeper, the reader who said, if you wrote a good book, you got money, you can make a living. If you didn't write a good book, you didn't make any money and you didn't make a living at it, so you didn't stay with it. When KU came around, it was like, it doesn't matter what you write. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be just plain old nothing. And I've actually seen it where somebody published a book and made the top on Amazon, and it was blank pages, and
Yes,
people would
yeah,
just flip through it to see if there was anything written, and they didn't write anything until the very last page.
yes. I remember that book.
And yeah, and so you end up with books like that, and people were making money off of it, and then they learn how to play the system. And so instead of having authors who generally love what they're doing, who are devoted to what they're doing, passionate about what they're doing, and readers who are the same way, who are passionate about good stories, passionate about certain authors that they will follow. Now that gatekeeper's gone, the
Yeah.
gates are totally just blown away. And so you've got everything and their brother just putting stuff out there, and it's diluting the good stories. It's diluting authors who generally are trying to make a business, trying to make a living, trying to support their families, to provide excellent stories that they're more than just stories. We talked about that last night with the author group. These are stories that impact people's lives, that can change it to make them better. And yet now it's getting harder and harder to find those stories, capture that magic. And when you do, it's like finding that satellite phone in the dino poop or that diamond in the Sahara.
Certainly, if we just use KU as an example, it's like a double-edged sword. It obviously is great money-wise for readers because it's a set amount per month and they can read as much as they want. But as you say, the flip side of that is that it can be hard to find a good story in amongst everything that's out there now. Because a lot of people who say would have left because they couldn't make a living before, the visibility aspect is just so difficult now because there's so much more there.
Amazon's put it in this and they're exclusive, so you can't put it anywhere else. And they only do this to indie authors. They don't do it to the traditional. If you
See,
notice, the traditional, they can be in KU and wide, but with indie authors, they're penalized so that they can only be exclusively there. They can't even sell it on their own website, even
mm,
though it's their intellectual property. And Amazon gives this, oh, you get this many page reads and you can make money at it. They're paying so little, you have to get a massive amount of it. And it only benefits them because they're getting these subscribers and getting the monthly income, but the authors are getting pennies. And if you can't make a living, you can't continue to write. And again, before, the gatekeepers were the readers. If you didn't write a good book and they didn't purchase it, then you had to go find a career where you were much better at it. But now,
yeah.
if you are very good at it and you do write a good book, trying to be seen, trying to get enough page reads if you're in KU, trying to sell enough books to make a living has become extremely difficult for the majority of authors out there.
For me, the second thing that I would say that I wish somebody had told me about was the editing process. That sucks. Can I just say?
I get a new
Oh,
gray hair every minute. Oh, if it's not falling out because of it. It has to be the most like, ah,
and the level of professionalism needed in a book. I was used to editing before, but not at the level it needs to be now. Man, if somebody had told me that, I think I would have just said, don't worry about it.
I can honestly say there are times where I've gone through a manuscript that I've done, and I write a fairly clean first draft. I'm pretty good because what I do is I actually edit as I go along.
Yeah.
So I will write either a scene or I'll write even a chapter, and then I go back and I edit it. And then I'll write the next one and edit it, and next one and edit it, and next one and edit it. And then I go back and I edit it again. And then I listen to it and edit it. And then I listen to it again. and I edit it some more. And literally, I could probably release what I do, but then I sent it to two other editors. And oh my God, it's like, how did you find all these friggin' things? And even after all of us have gone through it and used software like Pro Writing Aid, and of course, just general spell check, because even sometimes the spell check will catch one or two that you missed that Pro Writing Aid didn't get, or Grammarly, or any of those other editing
Mm.
programs out there. And I'll send it and I'll be, dang, if someone like you'll read it. And then next thing you know, I get like a highlight. And it may only be like two or three, but
Hmm.
it's like we have literally gone through this thing 50, I counted one time, 54 times. I went
Oh,
through that 54 times, going through that one book over and over and over, trying to catch all the gremlins. And I swear, the minute you hit that publish button, that's when you're going to see it's a pop up.
and you go, man, now I have to go and update it all over.
So
Yes.
editing, and I remember it was like when I very first started, and again, when I first started, I wasn't expecting anyone to really read the stories. And then I would get these emails, great story, needs editing, but great story. And I'm like, so I'm going back through it. And then I edit it and I re-upload it. And I get another one, great story, but needs editing. And I'm like, and this, and it took time, but we went through every single story, going back through it. And but even in today's, I guess it's because we're having to produce so much in such a
Yeah.
short amount of time too. It's fascinating to see that I'll be reading books and from traditional publishers that have had all these big editing teams and everything else, and I'll still catch
Mm.
stuff. Or
Yeah.
I'll be reading, say, the New York Times or another news organization, and I'll catch a typo here or there. But again, I don't look at that as being bad if it's not absolutely perfect. Do I love it to be perfect? Yeah. But I also see those little imperfections as saying, this is human.
Yes.
This is part of me.
Yeah.
And not all editing programs understand the way I think or the way I talk or the way I write. So
Yes.
sometimes
Yeah,
I
that's
write
true.
something and that is the way I want it to sound or I want it to say. I had this really wonderful person who once said, 80% done and published is better than 100% done and not. You
Oh,
wouldn't
yes.
know who
No.
that was,
Yeah.
would you?
No, I may have said that once or twice a day. It's so true that we get that paralysis analysis thing going on, particularly with
Yes.
editing, I find too, that it's just, oh, it's got to be absolutely perfect. And as you say, as soon as you put it up, it's then somebody will find at least one word or one error. And you can really beat yourself up about the fact that, as you say, you've edited and edited, and then it still skips through. But you just say, it's just one of those things you have to release and go, this is just a part of the human experience.
That's what I think it was Nora Roberts once said. She said, if I went back and rewrote every single book that I to fix certain things, she says,
Mm,
I'd never write another book. And
yeah.
then that would be a story that would be lost. And that was another thing. If I have a story going on in my head, don't tell yourself you can't write that because it doesn't fit with the genre that's out there or the genre that you've written or this, that, or the other. Because if that story's lost, it's a story that's never told, and it's a story that may impact somebody's life and change it.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one person, it may just be your life, but that story made a difference to you, whether
Yeah.
it helped you understand something or it just made you smile. To me, if a story gives you a smile and makes you feel good, I mean, that is better than any happy pill.
And you'll often find that when you've had the thought, and if you don't carry it forward, whether it's a book idea or a business idea or some other idea, you'll notice could be a couple of months, a couple of years down the track, that suddenly someone else has brought that idea to fruition and they've put it in place, and you go, ah, yeah, I had that idea last year. I should have done something with it. So I think in some ways too, if you don't use the creativity and don't get it out, that it will find a way to come. Someone will have that same thought or a similar thought and put it out there, and yeah, and go for it.
And then you're going to be the one sitting there going, dang, if I woulda,
Yeah.
coulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to the next thing. If someone could have told me how rewarding being an author is, I had no idea. I had never met an author when I first started. I had no idea how dramatically it could change my life. And I can honestly say the last 15 years, I've got to meet people I never would have gotten to meet. I've gotten to travel to places I never would have gotten to travel. I've gotten to do things I never would have been able to do. And I got to be a part of just a magical, not only group of authors and the world of being an author, but being a part of the characters and the worlds that
Mm.
I've created. I literally went back and reread all of my books, and I was nervous about doing it because I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to read some of my first books and think they're so sucky. I was such a terrible writer. And I read them and I was like, oh my God, I'm falling in love all over again. And this is why, and help me. This is why I started writing. And I fell in love with the characters and the stories and all of that. And it motivated me to want to write more. And I guess it's like a runner's high for people who are very athletic, which I'm not. But it's people talk about that runner's high, that sense of just their mind just opening up and flowing, and how it changed their lives and their bodies and this, that, and the other. And I think the writing does that for me.
Yeah. I've seen some of the comments that you get from readers talking or thanking you for changes that you've made in their lives. And some of them just bring you to tears. Whew, it's life changing.
And
That's the impact
and
you've
you
had.
realize you're making a bigger difference in yourself. And even once I'm gone, my work will still be there
Yeah.
and it can go on. People are still quoting Aristotle and Socrates and, of course, Shakespeare.
Mm,
But these are stories that will go on long after I'm gone. It's a legacy. And I feel that it's just so important to be able to leave a part of me. And if that part of me makes somebody else's day a better day, that's a reward that is
yes.
just priceless.
Yes.
And if someone would have told me that, it definitely, I think I would have started writing a long time ago, even longer than I have.
Would you have believed it if they had have told you?
No. And the reason for that is because I didn't have enough belief in myself. It's taken a long time for me to have that self-confidence. And that's something else that I had to learn. And believe it or not, it was my youngest son that basically helped me with this. Is he told me I knew I had thin skin. So I knew the negative reviews and nasty comments would hurt me because I take things personal and I get really down in the dumps. So I had to be very careful about that. And my son told me, he said, I'm trying to remember what he called them, trolls. He said, there's trolls out there. And they just like to put out negative stuff just to see if they can get a response. They don't care that they're being hurtful. In fact,
Mm,
that's their plan is they want to hurt you so that you'll respond. And I had to say, am I going to let them control me? Am I going to let that fear control me? And I had to learn. And I think this is advice that I would give. You have to learn how you're going to handle that. And
yeah.
if it means you're only going to read the 5 stars, only read the 5 stars. I know they say you should read the one stars because you should get that good criticism back. I know I write one star stuff. I have that confidence in me. My
Yeah,
stories are not one star. They may not be what you like to read or may not be something that you connect with, but it's not a one star. But if it makes your day, it makes you feel better to put somebody else down, and I happen to be there and I have the broad shoulders to take it, okay. And I've had to feel that's the way I look at it. You're having a bad day, you need to take it out on someone. If I'm here, if I can take that badness and make you feel a little bit better, do I want to do it? No. Am I going to read about it? No, because I don't want to absorb that. But
yeah,
I understand that's how I deal with it. Is
yeah.
I turn around their bad days and try and twist it to something good.
I think about 80% is mindset in this business, and then
Oh,
20% is the other part of the business. But
yeah.
it's all about mindset and how you look at everything you do in business that
Yes.
I think determines not so much your success rate from, say, how many books you sell, but the success rate from how you feel about yourself and your business. That
Don't
is,
compare yourself to anyone else. I cannot tell you the hundreds of times I've heard somebody say, "Oh, they're doing so good. They are like racking it in." They're and it's like they sold 5 books and they're number one in this really far off category of a subcategory of a subcategory. Yeah, they've got the number one banner and it looks like they're selling a gazillion books, but in reality, they made $50
yes, yeah,
if they're lucky. Or the ones who are doing super, super good. And then you find out, oh, yeah, they made $100,000 this month, but they had to spend 85,000 in ads to get that. So really, they didn't make as much. And
yeah.
then once you add in all the other expenses, they're making the $1.65 an hour.
Comparison is, well, it's powerful in a negative way when you
Yeah.
use comparison. I like to market test, but I have to be really careful when I do that, that I don't then get into a cycle of the fear of missing out or going, oh, they're doing so, oh, look at what they're doing. Oh, they're so much better than I. When it turns out they've got a 5-person social media team. It's a very different things that work for their business, which is why I say they're more visible than somebody else, or they could have just been in the right place at the right time. And when we use comparison, we just have to be really careful how we do that because we want to make sure it's apples and apples and oranges and oranges. Somebody who's got a huge team can do a lot more than somebody who it's just them. And we can't compare ourselves then to other people without knowing all the secret businessy stuff that's going on behind the scenes. As you say, are they
How
making
much do you,
100,000, spending 85,000 to make that? And it could turn out that you're both making 15,000. It's just, yeah, one looks very different to the other. And of course, we don't know
Mhm.
that because we don't know what's inside other people's businesses. But comparison, you really have to watch for. And it seems like it's really easy to do in the author market. I've seen quite a few authors who feel the pressure of, oh, look at what they're doing. I must not be good enough. I don't write enough, or whatever the things that they then think. So, yeah, comparison's a really good one to watch out for.
And it's an easy trap to fall in.
Mm.
Even I fall into it. And on occasion, and it's like I have to stop myself and say, whoa, step back. We're not
Yes.
going down that dark rabbit hole because it's not productive. I think the biggest thing I would offer advice to somebody before they go into this is knowing the likelihood of you writing one book and making $1 bazillion is going to be very rare unless you've got a outstanding book and are willing to spend a lot of money on ads. And as we know, marketing is 50-50. You don't know which 50% is going to work. So
Yes.
you could spend $100,000 on ads and still bomb. Don't believe me? Look at some of the movies that have come out that they've spent
Hmm.
huge amounts on, and technically they're considered flops. You've got to understand that. Don't compare yourself to other people. Only do apples to apples, oranges to oranges, and do what you love and stay focused on what you want. It's that consistency. What works for me may not work for you. I think a lot outside the box and I try a lot of things. Does everything work? No. Fail fast. Be willing to try at least because you never
Yes.
know. But the thing is, understand that just because I'm doing all of this stuff doesn't mean that's what would work for you. Try doing your own thinking outside the box. Just use what I've done as an example and then pick what you like the most out of it. And just keep moving forward and keep evolving. This is something that you're not going to have to worry about your brain going to mush unless it's from overwork, because you are definitely going to be constantly pushing and growing and evolving and changing and just trying to stay on top of everything.
The personal development involved in running an author business is huge, let alone your own writing skill development and all the other things come
All
out of
comes
it.
down to mindset. One thing that I've learned, especially talking with you over the years, is mindset is probably the first thing you need to look at. Where is your mindset before you ever decide to become an author? Because that's going to drive everything else that you do.
It will help you or hinder you depending on where you're at. Thank you. I'm glad that you started writing, even though you didn't know those things. And I'm glad you're still here.
I've learned a
Oh
lot
my
and I still
gosh.
learn every single day.
And that's the other good thing. I know I was closing, but just the one final point is, as you say, you're never going to know everything. You will
Yes.
always be learning. So be ready for that part. Okay. Thanks, everyone. See
Thanks,
ya.
everyone. Bye.